This is the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about What If Season 2, Episode 7, What If Hela Found the 10 Rings?
I was not aware that such magic still existed on Midgard.
Our realm is a border protecting the people of Earth from threats of the underworld. Threats like you.
I assure you, I mean no harm. My quarrel's with a man named Wenwu. Well, technically it was my father. I guess you could say it was both of them. Also, my dad has this new girlfriend, Frigga. She's a dreadful woman, not really a fan of hers either. So, yeah, it's just those three. So, don't suppose I could interest you all in taking up arms in my name? That sounds like a pass. Yes, totally get it. But these threats of the underworld you speak of, you wouldn't happen to know of any of them, looking for work?
Welcome back, fellow Defenders. This is the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we are discussing the new season of What If. This installment, episode 7, is asking the question, what if Hela found the 10 rings? I am one of your hosts, John.
I am your other host, Derek.
Yes, and we are still Chrysalis.
Here.
Yes. Yeah. He's just skiving now at this stage.
I think he is.
I think that's all we can say.
We've given him enough time now. He should definitely have been.
He should have recovered.
But he will be back. We're very hopeful he'll be back for the last 2 episodes, for 1602 and the finale as well. So, very hopeful. We're crossing our fingers.
Yes, and legs, and toes, and you name it. Everything that we can, we will cross.
Exactly.
But welcome back, fellow Defenders, to this installment of What If. Before we get into our spoiler-filled discussion of the episode, just a quick reminder, you can head on over to tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast on any mysterious podcast player in the multiverse of your choice. You can also send in your feedback, thoughts, comments, and theories by email to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or within the spoiler-filled comment posts over on our Facebook group, which is at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries. And you can send in all those theories to us for our feedback section. Yes. Shall we get into this episode of What If?
Yes, we shall. Yeah, absolutely.
Derek, what are some of the episode details for What If Hela Found the 10 Rings?
Well, executive producers of the show, of course, are Bryan Andrews, AC Bradley, and Brad Winderbaum, with Kevin Feige, of course. The head writer for the show is AC Bradley for this season. As we mentioned in the last episode, she has announced her departure after the end of season 2 of What If, so not involved in season 3. This episode, though, is written by Matthew Chauncey, who's written multiple episodes of What If, and, of course, directed by Bryan Andrews.
Excellent stuff. The team back together again.
Exactly. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for What If, season 2, episode 7, What If Hela Found the 10 Rings?
Sure. Growing weary of Hela's bloodlust in the 9 realms, Odin banishes her to Earth and strips her powers by destroying Mjolnir and placing an enchantment on her crown. Hela lands in medieval China and is confronted by the armies of Xu Wenwu. She attempts to retrieve the crown but fails. Wenwu keeps Hela alive and tries to recruit her to his army, but she escapes after failing to steal his 10 rings. She's guided by a Hundun to the realm of Talao, where she convinces their leader, Jiayi, to let her join their cause. Jiayi teaches Hela martial arts after she recognizes her true desire for freedom from control. After Heimdall reports his failure to locate Hela, Odin visits Earth to battle Wenwu in retaliation. Hela joins Wenwu in fighting against Odin, ultimately winning and regaining her worthiness to wield her crown. Odin recognizes Hela's growth and submits Asgard's throne to her. Hela unites the armies of Asgard and Wenwu's 10 Rings organization and embarks on a journey to ensure freedom across the 9 realms and beyond, coming to the rescue of Gamora's people as Thanos attacks them.
Yes, another episode of What If, another death of Thanos.
Yeah, Thanos is getting it in the neck.
He is.
He really
and
is.
head and arms and back.
Yeah, he's really not succeeding in his plan.
Not at all.
No.
In all of these universes. So I guess with the 14 million possibilities that Doctor Strange saw in Avengers Endgame, I guess this was the only universe that Thanos succeeded.
Well, I always
And then
feel
failed.
that prediction by Doctor Strange was within his own universe.
Yep.
And ultimately as well, an unchanged universe. So if there was a change like this, what would have happened?
Yes, yeah.
But, I mean, I guess with the time ring, he could have gone back and made that change, but I don't think that was part of the equation. I think it was always about, from that point,
Yes.
what options are there?
Exactly, because you can't go back and change the past. If you do, it creates a new universe. Of course.
And it's less dramatic if Tony Stark doesn't die.
That's true. That's very
I
true.
guess.
That's very true.
You know, keep the tension. Keep the tension. But yes, fellow defenders, we will get into our spoiler-filled discussion. First off, though, Derek, overall, what did you think?
You know, I was really excited for this episode,
good.
when I saw the titles of the episode coming up, because I was going, Shang-Chi is one of my favorite, movies. So revisiting, that universe, revisiting that world, is going to be really exciting. And I was kind of going, oh, Hela's coming back as well. Really like Hela. It's a cool character. Hasn't gotten much outside of that one movie. So I got really excited about it. And then, of course, it makes sense in the way the show is constructed. It makes loads of sense that it would be Hela and Wenwu on screen. I'm kind of hoping that we were going to get Shang-Chi back on screen.
Okay.
Unfortunately, not able to incorporate him in the story this time. So,
But great to get Cate Blanchett doing the voice.
Absolutely.
For Hela.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
good. I loved her deadpan kind of delivery as well.
Absolutely.
Lots
Yeah.
of quips in this episode, which I really enjoyed.
yeah, apparently, when Matthew Chauncey and AC Bradley were originally discussing the possibility that they could get Cate Blanchett back, they were going to use her for an episode in season 1. One of the episodes, I think Party Thor, maybe at least one of the Thor episodes, they were going to get the family back together. And Matthew Chauncey kind of said, if we get Cate Blanchett on board, we need to give her her own episode, right? We need to make her the center of it. It's Cate Blanchett. So that's where they came up with the idea of this one.
Excellent
I think it's
stuff.
pretty cool.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this as well. And I was kind of surprised how it went, to be honest. You know, with Hela finding the 10 rings, that kind of positive question there. I thought it was not going to be quite as sort of sunshine and lollipops
Absolutely.
By the end. So I was kind of really kind of pleased about that because it completely circumvented my thoughts of where it was going to go. I liked it was actually, you know, less about Hela finding the 10 rings, but finding Wenwu and finding herself.
Yes, I suppose it's a little bit of a nature versus nurture kind of question here. When nurtured by Odin, her father, she becomes the angel of death, effectively. but when she gets the training from the people from Tao Lo, she becomes all good and kindness.
A good angel.
A good angel.
I loved the suit in white.
Oh,
Actually,
it's cool.
At the end, it was really good.
Yep.
Really good. But let us get into our top 3 points. Starting off with, what if we had seen this before? What are the cinematic universe movies from Marvel that are referenced here? Once again, the movie Thor Ragnarok here, with Hela being in it, but Ragnarok not as such happening, because otherwise we would be saying that Asgard was getting it in the neck a lot.
Exactly.
In these episodes of What If as well.
Yeah. The connection to Ragnarok really is the story that leads up to Hela going to hell. Is what's being referenced here. So we don't get much of the actual Ragnarok story, but I think that's quite interesting because what you effectively get is the kind of the prologue of Thor Ragnarok that's referenced here. It's the Hela backstory way before we have Thor and Loki and whatever's going on with them in Ragnarok. So that's the story that they've taken from Ragnarok, and they've taken from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. They've taken the backstory of Wenwu, and what happens with him and how he was in control of the Ten Rings. So that's the other big movie that they're referencing here is Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, of course. If you haven't seen that movie, go out and see it. It's excellent. It's really, really good.
Yeah,
especially the story of Wenwu at the beginning of that movie, where it tells the tale of how he's been using the Ten Rings over the centuries to protect Earth, as he likes to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I love this idea as well that, you know, with Heimdall losing the sight of Hela while she's on Earth. I love the fact that he then also spots the 10 rings, these magical, powerful, non-Earth devices in the hands of a mortal, which Odin finds sort of inconceivable that could be the case, and actually that would be a threat to Asgard and the other realms that he has conquered. And it's kind of the arrogance of gods really here, a bit like with Greek mythology and so on. I kind of liked how that played here.
Absolutely.
No mortal should be in control and wield such powerful artifacts,
Yes. And this is an interesting reference to something in the future of the MCU, which I like, because Shang-Chi ended with Shang being taken away by Sorcerer Supreme Wong, right?
Yeah.
Because he was still the Sorcerer Supreme, wasn't he?
He was.
So Wong takes away Shang-Chi. They meet up with Captain Marvel and Banner, and they're trying to investigate where the 10 rings could come from. So interestingly, that's a post-credit scene in Shang-Chi that hopefully will play out in the Shang-Chi 2 movie, which has been announced now. But we've never been able to return to that. In the other movies that followed it, we've never returned to that story of it. So here we have Odin and Heimdall talking about the fact that these are extraterrestrial in origin and they shouldn't be on Earth, and shouldn't be in the hands of a mortal. So that's quite interesting that we're kind of looking into the future of the MCU a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But really good to have a Shang-Chi movie referenced here as well for the first time in What If.
Exactly.
I thought that was really good.
Absolutely. And there is one other movie that a lot of inspiration is taken from for this, but it kind of connects to what the small change is. So that's our second major point. The small change that's happened in this universe is that instead of Hela being banished to hell, as she was in Thor Ragnarok, as we saw in Thor Ragnarok, Hela is banished to Earth. And this is very similar to the first Thor movie, that Thor got banished to Earth because of his arrogance, because he didn't control his powers the way that Odin wanted him to. Here, Hela's banished to Earth. Her power is removed. Odin puts effectively a spell on her crown, saying that until she learns humility, she won't be able to get. That's true. It could be anybody else.
It could be anyone that effectively worthy of that crown in the same way Thor or someone had to be worthy of holding Meow Meow or Mjolnir. So I really like that for sure. And I think to that our second point, what if there was that small change and what flows from that, from that initial premise of this episode is, we have this great kind of almost learning and unlearning of Hela. I love the fact that we got, as you say, that prologue of Odin and Hela conquering the 9 realms, but effectively Hela wanting to continue kind of this bloodlust, and challenging Odin to continue that he's gone weak as he's kind of drawing back and trying to consolidate. He's got control of the 9 realms. That's the extent of his ambition, really.
Yes.
And she is wanting to go further beyond the 9 realms and across the cosmos. So he strips her, as you say, of her power and of her crown, and casts her out into Midgard, onto Earth. And the crown can only be worn by someone who has mercy, to wield that power, that comes with being the goddess of death, effectively.
Exactly.
So I really thought that was great. And I love having then Hela on Midgard and just the arrogance of her confronting a fairly relaxed and sort of knowing Wenwu, really. I kind of really enjoyed this. It's like he could understand that this came from outside of Earth, from off planet, because he's experienced that with the 10 rings. He kind of understands that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I guess there's a bit of gambling going on in some of his calculations, certainly where, he takes her to her crown, and says, well, put it on there. And I love Hela's, sort of response to that. Are you stupid or brave? Maybe a bit of both, you know, as, you know, she's told him she's the goddess of death and, well, you're escorting me to the instrument of your ultimate destruction because she thinks she's just going to be able to pick it up.
Yeah.
And then she can't, you know. I kind of like that. And I
thought it was cool. Yeah. I thought it was good. I think there was that moment exactly as yourself. I was thinking, hang on a second, what if this doesn't work? Or what if, what if his approach here falls completely apart and he gets beaten by Hela? She's very powerful.
Exactly. But Odin had just uttered those words and she had just lost that and hadn't been on any journey to correct who she thinks she is and what she's capable of doing and the entitlement of it. So I guess it was always going to be that case, but you just, and I think that's where Wenwu was doing the gamble.
Yes.
And I kind of really enjoyed where she's doing that, you know, because again, it was that sort of nice balance within this episode of quippy where she's going, oh, that's really lodged in there, you know, she's trying to heave it off and put it on her head. Yeah. But also then, as she's close in on it, the plead, or, you know, almost to Odin, don't do this to me.
Exactly.
You know, realizing maybe in that moment what, he has actually stripped her of, you know, in terms of that power. Exactly. So I thought this was really, really good.
Yeah, and side by side, the shot of her trying to pull at the crown in the rain looks exactly like Chris Hemsworth in Thor in the rain in Mexico as he's trying to pull Mjolnir out of the ground. It's perfectly animated side by side. Some other cool things that are done really well in the animation and in the performance of Cate Blanchett. I love where she rubs her hands over her head just like she did as she arrived on Asgard to reveal herself as this queen of death, effectively, where she got the crown. This time she throws her hands back and nothing happens at all. And then you see her throw her two hands to her side to try and get her daggers out that she used to kill so many people in Asgard. And again, they don't come. They don't come calling because she's lost all of those powers. She's just a human right now.
Yeah, it was really good. But I like then the other shift of this with Wenwu where, you know, effectively he brings her in. You know, he keeps saying, I want her alive, you know, don't kill her, but proposes an alliance, with, himself, you know, to fight side by side to protect the world.
Absolutely.
You know, and I really I like that. And I like the fact that, you know, Hela's response is, you wouldn't be proposing that if you knew who I was, you know, like my father. And he's like, I'm not your father.
Exactly.
And again, the quippiness of where he puts her in a red gown and, you know, she's saying, well, it won't stain when I slit your throat, you know, or the other side of it is when we were saying, you know, normally it's a color used in weddings. And she goes, I thought this was a proposal, not a life sentence, you know, and I just loved all the,
it was really good.
The chit chat and the dialogue in this episode to me was really, really good, as well as just the whole concept of it.
Absolutely. And I do like no matter what universe you're in here with Wenwu, he's always open to love, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the kind of interesting thing. Wenwu's story in Shang-Chi is that he meets with Shang-Chi's mother, and they form a relationship, they fall in love, and they have children together. So here he is falling in love with Hela instead, because Hela has arrived much earlier in this history. He is still looking for Tello. He is still looking for these types of artifacts in the world, like he did with the 10 rings. So that's why he finds Hela's crown. But here, because of her interruption in his history, I suppose, he is starting to fall for Hela. Yeah. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, she's not ready yet. And so ultimately escapes, you know, being helped by the face/ass creature. Also, a Dejang, or as we knew from Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, Morris.
Yes.
Who befriended Trevor Slattery.
Exactly.
And I like how the quips still, you know, were coming, and certainly around that with, you know, it's not the first time I followed an arse into war or into battle. You know, all this, it was just really good as they go into the bamboo forest that we saw from Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And again, that, you know, I've not survived 1,000 years of war to die at the hands of foliage. I mean, it was all, was just such great sort of dialogue for me. I loved it.
Oh, so good. Really,
and
really good.
Cate Blanchett's delivery as well. It was just this kind of exhausted 1,000-year-old sort of deadpan of like, I mean, if I didn't think I could be surprised by anything, but I am, but I just haven't the energy to do it.
Exactly.
I'm too goddess-like.
Why can't it just be easier? It should be much more simple for me, because everything comes so simply to her.
Exactly. And that was the other side of it. It's that, suddenly she's having to work at stuff. And this really is what comes into play in Talao, and with Jiayi, who teaches Hela to unite spirit and balance. I loved where she's questioning her about, well, what do you want to do? What is it that you hope to find? And it's Wenwu, so I can kill him. But no, it's also so I can kill Odin.
Yes.
And actually then it's just met this woman Frigga who I'm not that fussed on. And so, I don't really like her either.
Absolutely.
And it's like,
so actually there's 3 people that I'm after.
Yeah, so it's all really petty.
Absolutely.
And in the end, Jiayi gets to the crux of it, which is, told really well through little flashbacks and with the backstory that we saw at the start with her and Odin, which is, all the time she has been ordered and told that she is the goddess of death and she will fight. She is a warmonger. She will cause death.
Yeah.
And what she's looking for ultimately is freedom from control, and that freedom to choose her own path, which she kind of, embraces and goes to do, even though, before all this, her mind was, well, is there anyone that wants to join my ranks and take over the world? All this kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed this whole premise. And I liked how it played out a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really good. And it also fits the mood and themes of Shang-Chi as well, that were explored so well in that movie. That was one of the big compliments we had for it, that they created another society similar to what we talked about the First Peoples in the previous episode, and about the Mesoamericans and Black Panther and Wakandans in the original Black Panther movie. So again, it was another movie that had a great perspective on the history of these types of characters in the Marvel universe, and it's taken a really good look at it here and adding to this really interesting story. I think it's really, really fantastic. I love that they're able to effectively convince the goddess of death to come to their cause, and that's how she convinces them to let her join them. Is what a big boon it would be for you if you were able to get the goddess of death to come and join your side of the argument. Absolutely. I guess so that was quite cool. There was little references in there as well where she talks about I am Hela, I am a demon from another world, and they talk about the fact that this community is there to protect demons coming through from the other world. That's their job, just like Doctor Strange's job is to protect people from other dimensions coming through, or demons from other dimensions coming through. They have a similar job. So they're talking about their role as protectors against the dweller in the darkness, which again we saw in Shang-Chi. So,
I loved how when she came across Tao Lao, she almost breathed in that magical cosmic energy, and she's like, I'm not aware of such magic and that existed on Midgard, in the same way then that Odin has the same kind of view once Heimdall reports to him, and ultimately precipitates Odin coming to Midgard and setting up that kind of huge end sequence and battle sequence between Odin, Hela, with Wenwu. But and that I just thought was really, really epic. I really enjoyed that, and just then seeing how the different techniques that Jiayi had sort of imparted to Hela, things like practicing the art of breath, the paper folding, sort of the laundry stuff, and all the martial arts. I really liked how it kind of mirrored some of the moves that you had seen them practicing. Absolutely. And Hela learning then in the battle with Odin.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought this battle was so cool. Just this idea that effectively they're fighting against the All-Father. We saw the confidence of Wenwu earlier on when he allowed Hela go and try and get her crown back, because he's got the 10 rings. They are so powerful that he's been able to lead armies and crush nations almost. But he talks about the fact that he's here as a protector for the planet, and if they join together, they can both be protectors. And here we have Odin coming in because of, exactly as you said, John, the information being passed to him from Heimdall. Now, Heimdall's supposed to be a really nice guy. We tend to like Heimdall from all of the movies that he's appeared in, but just the fact that he goes and tells Teacher that he's lost Hela and sends Odin on going to Earth, you know.
Well, he's all seeing, isn't he? So I
is,
guess he's a bit like the secret police. He can just,
Basically.
he's able to pass like strategic or tactical information to Odin, which is what he does here.
Yeah.
But
there's something about the way Odin reacts to it that, you hear Hela saying that Odin's here destroying the nation or fighting against Wenwu and the nation outside of Taolo, because in her name is what she says. And there's something about the way that it's delivered from Odin that actually you feel he's almost jealous or angry that a human has such powerful weapons as the Ten Rings, and he kind of wants them for himself, or at least to put into his museum on Asgard, like he did with the Tesseract, like he did with other items of power before. But it's almost something like Odin just can't handle anybody else having power in the multiverse or in the realms.
No, exactly. And I love how, the action is great here. I think, the animation is great. Across the whole episode, but in this fight scene, I love that Hela defies Odin. She no longer wants to be his right-hand woman, his weapon for his conquests. And, ultimately, she wants to end the violence once and for all and earns Odin's throne, and against his expectation. I guess Odin ultimately realizes he has been defeated, and actually she has gone off and done what he commanded.
Exactly.
And so, in a sense, it suddenly de-escalates very quickly because he can respect that and understand that, and so gives her the throne to Asgard, and then she's able to forge this alliance with Wenwu to unite those realms under a peaceful banner. Effectively.
Then their own freedom and working together more than anything else. And this is really significant because, again, we are saying that this is taking a lot from Thor, the original Thor movie, and Thor being sent to Earth to learn humility, to learn to use Mjolnir correctly. And the reason why was because he was next in line for the throne, for Odin's throne, and Odin was always supposed to hand over the throne to Thor. That was the whole point of the original movie. But we never got a battle like this. We never got Thor versus Odin for the throne of Asgard. We got Thor versus the Destroyer, right? And then he comes back after learning the ways that he needed to learn, and then decides that he's going to become an Avenger, decides that he's not going to take the throne. Here, Odin steps out of the way. The Allfather moves out of the way and gives Hela the right to take on the throne. She is the eldest child, as we learnt in Ragnarok. She is the next in line for the throne at that time. So I just think it's very interesting that it spins out very differently. It's almost like Odin going, "Oh, well, actually, you've got much better ideas than I do." So
it's like he's abdicating.
Exactly.
Ultimately. And I mean, that's, to the third point of, what if the universe was changed forever? He abdicates. And so Odin is no longer this All-Father. And the 9 realms are effectively almost united or protected by this alliance between Wenwu and Hela. And it's almost like Star Trek Federation type.
Basically.
But again, Hela's ambition leaks through because it's to go beyond the 9 realms and to the cosmos, and to protect where she can the people of the cosmos.
Absolutely.
So I mean, there's almost a hint of a flavor of Captain Marvel here, after the first movie, where she's wanting to use her newly acquired powers in order to protect people, beyond Earth, beyond Kree civilization.
So, going out into the cosmos and saving them all. I just think this is so interesting. Again, the what spins out of these choices, as I said right at the start, this idea of the person that is bringing her up, as in Odin has turned her into this massive weapon, and then gets a bit scared when she wants to continue being a weapon. And here she relearns a different approach and is now an even better Allfather than Odin is, because she's uniting everybody under freedom. I think that's really cool.
As she said, I gave peace a chance.
Exactly. And then we have the final kind of reference to another MCU movie in how the universe has changed forever. And here we see that moment when Hela and her entire army, including Wenwu, swoop into Gamora's home planet just around the time that Thanos is about to kill half of the planet, which is one of his earliest actions in his plan to half the universe, to destroy half the universe, and catch him just in time. So before his realization of his plan at all has kicked off, he's got Hela on his back right now to take him out. So massive moment to stop the future of Thanos in this universe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, really good. Really good. Loved this. I loved, Wenwu kind of running on the 10 rings. You had Morris, the Dijang, bottom first or face first, flying through the cosmos to help as well.
So cool. Really enjoyed it. Any other notes from the episode? Anything else you want to quickly reference, John?
No, nothing from me. I think said most of what I wanted to from this episode.
Yeah, the only little quick notes that I did really like Hela when she's starting out on the path with Jiayi in Taolo. She thinks she's going to be learning this massive, amazing martial art, and that's all she wants. She wants just extra power, more things, and the thing she really wants most is maybe fire daggers. Fire daggers as a weapon be the thing she wants. And as she has that battle with Odin later on, there are some pieces of metal on the ground that turn into effectively what she wants, the fire daggers, and it is used in the battle with Odin as well. So I thought that was quite cool that she actually did get what she wanted, but just a different path to it, right? So I thought that was quite a fun little ending there. Just to reference as well, we don't have all the actors back, even though we do have Cate Blanchett back here as Hela. We actually don't get Tony Leung, who played the role of Wenwu so brilliantly in Shang-Chi. He doesn't come back for this role. Wenwu was played in the show by Fyodor Chin. Oh, that was quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's quite cool.
Well, Derek, just leads me to ask you, do you defend this episode of What If?
Yeah, I absolutely do defend this episode. I thought it was going to be a different storyline. I thought we were going to catch back up with Shang-Chi in this episode, which I thought would be kind of cool. I'd like to see Shang-Chi side by side with Hela, because they just are such different characters. I thought it would have been quite an interesting story, but it actually makes more sense to have someone as powerful as Wenwu coming up against a god. You know, that's quite cool, having the two of them side by side and potentially falling in love, although they don't say it. They don't say that that's what happens to Wenwu. But that's his storyline from Shang-Chi, is that he falls in love and changes his ways. Here, he at least has an admiration for Hela.
Yeah.
And changes his ways, becomes the protector of the galaxy, or the cosmos, I guess. That's a really interesting change. I really liked it. Really liked the episode. I thought it was I thought they were able to take the story in just different ways, but similar in tone and style to Shang-Chi. Some of the things we liked most about that movie are still present within this story here. And great to see Cate Blanchett back. She seems to be having a wonderful time once again in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
With all my regular comments of my dislike of Thor Ragnarok, I feel that what does get lost is Cate Blanchett was excellent in that movie. She was really good fun to watch on screen. So good to have her back here and get another chance at the role of Hela.
Yeah.
Overall, really liked it. And Bar's cool as well. Flying arse is always good in animation, isn't it?
Absolutely.
John, how about yourself? Do you defend season 2, episode 7 of What If? What if Hela found the 10 rings?
Yeah, I really do defend this episode. Give it 5 lodged crowns out of 5.
Ooh.
This episode really grew on me. I've seen it 3 times now, and I just loved the writing from start to finish. I loved the concept of it. It wasn't what I was expecting, not in the sense of Shang-Chi, but in the sense of I thought she was going to use them for herself. So I liked almost this redemptive arc that came through.
Yeah.
I loved in Talau with Jiayi, training Hela up. I loved her fighting against Odin in the battle sequence. I thought,
very cool.
Also the teaming up with Wenwu. I just loved all of this. It really felt very like positive, great sort of tempo to this episode. And so, yeah, for me, 5 lodged crowns out of 5.
Fantastic. Is that 5 out of 5
I
in a
think
row?
so, yeah. I've really enjoyed some of these episodes.
Yeah, Captain Carter and this one. Yeah. Very good, yeah. And they have been really extra special. These last 3 episodes have been great fun.
Yeah. Excellent stuff.
So, John, what if we had some feedback?
Indeed, and we do.
We do.
First off, we have some emails through. Firstly, on episode 5 by Meryl Smith, who says, "What if we got a Cliff Notes version of Winter Soldier and turned it into a Black Widow movie, which came years earlier than it was supposed to? Look how easy it was to do. Marvel. I'm now curious how the Budapest situation went with Clint in this version and what Natasha's relationship with Yelena, or if it even happened." Yeah, very good. But certainly changes afoot there.
Yeah.
Given this change up to the Winter Soldier storyline.
Yeah. It's quite significant differences there, isn't it? Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, I always have to remind myself how much I enjoyed the Black Widow movie, and just how I wish it had been earlier, like you're saying there, Meryl, because it really felt right, and you can just sense the possibilities with feeding into things like the Winter Soldier or whatever with the Red Room and what have you. Yeah,
exactly. If it hadn't taken 10 years to make, effectively, for some bizarre reason. I remember when we watched that was our review of Black Widow. If it just had come out a couple of years beforehand, it would have slotted in really well within the other movies, and you can kind of watch it in that order now, apart from a couple of little post-credits things.
Excellent. Exactly. Meryl Smith also had some thoughts on episode 6 as well. Meryl says, "I gotta say, I love the introduction of Kahori. A great new addition, and I look forward in seeing what this character will go to do next, and which MCU series it'll be. Also, how powerful is Kahori, and what are the limits to the power?" Well, exactly. I mean, her power is ultimately coming from an Infinity Stone.
Exactly.
So, yeah, she's got the power, and so does her people here. But it seems as though she was able to channel it much better, or at least she took on the leadership role just because of coming from her burning village and realizing this power could be used to sort of save them, protect them, and rescue her villagers from the chains of the Spanish conquisition. So I kind of really enjoyed that as well. So yeah.
That's very good.
Stuff.
So I've never heard anybody call it the Spanish Conquisition before. Nobody expects the Spanish Conquisition. It's a new Monty Python sketch coming soon. Good stuff. But how powerful is Kahori? I would presume, again, there were other characters that got their powers from the Tesseract, from the stone, that particular stone, like Captain Marvel, like Scarlet Witch, who are both massively powerful. So you would assume that her level of power is around that style. As for what the limits of the power are, we definitely don't know that yet. No. So that'll have to be explored. And I hope it is in future comics and future moments in the MCU as well. And maybe later on in the season of What If.
Yeah, maybe. Absolutely. Thanks, Meryl.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Meryl, for your thoughts on these episodes. We also got an email in from Coffee and Vodka, of course, who says, "Greetings, fellow ringed-in defenders. A decent attempt at a standalone story, though it felt more like a highlight reel than an episode. Character motivation, actions, and events came about too suddenly. Despite its potential, Hela's one of my favourite characters. This was more a cry for longer episodes than a proper installment. 3 Wenwuings, assistants, and ring tossers out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and Vodka." I really like that. Coffee and Vodka.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Coffee and Vodka. Assistants.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I don't even know that I managed to pronounce that properly then.
I think it's arse assistants.
Assistants. Yeah, exactly.
One thing I will say, there is a line from Hela when she's with Jiayi in Taolo. There's a line for when she goes to get her dragon scale armor and puts it on, where she's saying, "Odin's attacking outside in my name." And I was going, well, how does she know that? Because she's not watching outside. She's not getting any information from the outside.
Well, she saw Heimdall's Rainbow Bridge come down, but it could be anyone. Ultimately.
Exactly. It could be anything or anyone going on. It felt like there was another scene there that somebody had come in with the warning of what's going on outside, and that hadn't been left in the episode or something like that.
Or she knows her father too well.
Maybe that was it. Maybe that's it. Good stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Yeah, thanks, Coffee and Vodka. Also, over on our Facebook group, we got feedback. First up, Heather Wallace says, Odin really was a terrible father, wasn't he? I liked Hela's escape across the rooftops, very reminiscent of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Are there film references in each episode? I've picked up Blade Runner, Die Hard already. The Russian-American village in Peggy Carter's episode could be The Experts. Don't think I know that movie.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one.
So it could very well be, Heather.
Yeah.
Certainly the first few definitely had those very explicit movie references outside of the MCU.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, you could argue that sort of running across the tiles, it's also very classic sort of image that you can get in Asian films, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Even the bamboo, you know, like, I know it moved on itself, but like in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where they're using that in swordplay as well, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it was all had that flavor for sure.
Absolutely. If anybody else picks up any movie references that we're not catching, or anything that we're not catching, please let us know. Some really good ones there, though, Heather. We also got a message in from Jeff Childs, who says that was a particularly good episode. 5 out of 5 flaming knives from me.
Excellent, Jeff. Yeah, completely agree.
Good stuff. Victor Von Doom says, great episode. I can't get enough of Cate Blanchett.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Cate
good.
Blanchett was so good in this. Yeah.
Really, really good. And finally, on Facebook, Dr. Bob Phillips says, Hidden Death God Crouching Oven-Ready Chicken with Wings could have been the working title for this episode. Like the twist on 10 Rings, the mystical land and the rejection of childhood trauma in this one, plus the followed Nars into battle line has to be one of the best of the whole season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree. And that's a great working title, but even worse to spell out every time I'm typing the episode notes. So I'm glad I didn't stick with that one.
Excellent stuff. Thanks so much, Dr. Bob, and of course also Victor Von Doom and Jeff Childs as well. Good stuff.
Absolutely. Yep. Thanks so much for your feedback for this episode. Just a reminder that we are staying in the MCU for quite a while longer. We've got 2 more episodes of What If to come. Next week, we're going to be talking about What If Season 2, Episode 8, What If the Avengers were formed in 1602?
Yeah.
Then we have the finale of What If, and coming from January 10th, we will have Echo with all 5 episodes releasing on Disney+. A reminder for those of you who just have Disney+, though, you may have to make sure you have your adult settings changed on Disney+, or else you're not going to be able to see
interesting,
Echo. It's mature only if we're in the US.
Oh,
so
mature.
Mature, yes.
Yeah.
So you have to have your settings
Blue
changed.
cheese.
Or else it doesn't come up. Kind of like blue cheese, but slightly
like a nice
different to
Stilton. Or gorgonzola.
Right, but I am very much looking forward to Echo when it comes out next week. It seems like it's going to be setting up the future Daredevil in this version of the MCU, right?
Yeah, we'll have to get the echo function on our podcast, so we'll just be giving an echoey podcast.
I think we do that naturally without any work from our systems. Good stuff. But thanks so much, everybody, for your thoughts on the episode. I hope you've been enjoying joining us for What If this season. Still 2 more episodes to go, so you still have time to email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, or pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries. The spoiler post up there for each episode of What If Season 2, where you can leave your thoughts.
Yes, and of course, please remember to subscribe to the podcast, and of course, share the podcast as well, because sharing the podcast is, of course, sharing the love.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Excellent
it is.
stuff. Thanks so much for joining us, fellow defenders, for this episode of What If. Until episode 8, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep defending.
Bye.
Bye.